This is Scott Hendrickson from MindPlace. Today we're going to do a tutorial in Mind Workstation on how to synchronize audio with a entrainment track in Mind Workstation. This has been a request from one of our users, and for the basic way to do it, it's actually pretty easy. If you want to get into complex tempo changes, songs that have a lot of different varieties of tempos, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. But we've selected a track that is actually pretty easy to do and pretty easy to sync to, and the principles carry over into other tracks. Even if they're very complex, you could deconstruct them to get what you wanted. So let's take a look at how to do that. So what we're going to want to do is I'm going to point you to some free software, a couple of pieces of software, and the first one is called BPM Analyzer, and it's from Mixmeister. So you'll want to go to mixmeister.com, download -bpmanalyzer.php. You could also just Google BPM Analyzer from Mixmeister to get to this link. But anyway, it's a free piece of software, and you'll fill out your contact information and then download it. And it's a very important tool for what we're going to want to do because it determines the tempo. Then the next one we're going to look at is Music Calculator, and it has some nice features such as converting the tempo to a Hertz reading that we'll use in Mind Workstation, and it's at musiccalculator.com. You'll actually get to it from conversion on the link to the side here. And then later on in the tutorial we'll also use Audacity to do some more detailed editing and generate click tracks. So that's the free pieces of software. Get those together to follow along with this tutorial, and we shall begin. So the track that I've selected is actually On the Run from Pink Floyd. I think this is a common track that people have a lot of people have access to. And also it has a very clean hi-hat pattern so that we can easily tell that our settings are syncing along with this particular track, and it's kind of a trippy psychedelic track. Short, but anyway, it gives us an idea. Now I've pitch shifted this, so I hope YouTube censors don't pick up on which track that I'm using, and we'll only use little bits of it. But anyway, let's take and go into the BPM Analyzer, and we'll drag this pitch shifted version, which doesn't change the tempo, the process that I've used to shift it, and drag it right in, and it tells us the BPM of this file. Now if you listen to this track, it's actually being played in double time. The hi-hat patterns are being played in double time, so you're going to want to double this tempo. This is not accurate, and that's a common thing with tempo analyzers. If it doesn't seem like it's a reasonable tempo, you can tell by listening to it that it's much faster or much slower. Then usually it's just a matter of halving or doubling the tempo that's given. Otherwise, it's a very accurate piece of software. It's used in the Mixmeister DJ application that they have, so it is very accurate. But having gotten that tempo of 82.69, we will want to double that. So I've got my calculator here, and 82.69 times 2 equals 165.38. So that's a more useful tempo. And as you see, these higher tempo songs are more useful for brainwave entrainment because we're able to get within a range that's useful. In this case, you'll see it'll be in the alpha range, and so that's useful to what we want to do. Now we could also use variations on that, and maybe I'll go over that as well. But having gotten the tempo, let's go into the Music Calculator now. It's an online app, so we'll just go to the website, and it was 162.38, right? 165.38. So let's enter that in the value here, 165.38, and you can see that tells us the Hertz rating for this 165.38, and that's the value we need for Mind Workstation Once again, that's low. That's incredibly low. That's in the delta range, and so not really useful for what we're going to want to do. But that is the tempo. You're getting a click rate on the quarter notes, and what we're actually interested in is the 16th notes. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to multiply this value times 4, which will give us the 16th notes. So 165.38 times 4 equals 661.52. So 661.52 gives us 11.025 hertz, which is cycles per second, and that would be a good alpha entrainment range. So it'll work good for our purposes. So let's go into Mind Workstation and import this sound file. So we'll insert a sound file. Documents here. Okay. We'll get the pitch shift track. Alright, so it's a 30-minute session, but it's only about a 4-minute audio. So I'm going to change that to 4 minutes. That gets me close enough. Now what we're going to want to do is make sure, let's play this. So we want to make sure that the beat is aligned to a place along this timeline to where we know exactly how to sync it, so that when we add entrainment, it's properly synced in phase along the pulsing waves, which are really rather fast and can drift out of sync quickly. So unfortunately, my workstation, we can only go into a zoom of 3000, which for detailed audio work is not nearly enough, but that's all we have in this. So we'll be using Audacity actually to get much more accurate. But in the Mind Workstation timeline, what we'll do is we'll try our best to line up that first top beat. You can see that it's a strong peak in the wave because there's a fade in, and we'll try to align that with the 1 second mark as best as we can. Okay, so we've gotten our calculated value here, 11.025 hertz. So let's change our entrainment track. Let's go ahead and zoom back out now. Let's change our entrainment track to that value, 11.025. Okay, and we'll add a tones track, isochronic beats, and it should be aligned pretty close. Again, you can hear in this track that the hi-hats are very clear, so we can tell if we're tracking along with them or not. Check it at various points in the file. Sounds like a pretty close sync. That's just the rough way of doing it, and if you're happy with that, then we're done. So in part 2 of this video, we'll look at how to edit to cue points in Audacity, so stay tuned for that.